for braving the snow and the cold to come out on a dark evening in Columbia County to attend the February 22nd meeting of the EMC. We have a quorum tonight, so if we come across anything that we need to have a vote on, we're equipped to do so. And I have the first item on my agenda. I don't have much to report personally, but is to say the meeting minutes from January 25th will have been distributed to everybody. Did anybody have a comment or a modification that would need to be made to those minutes? Okay, well, hearing no suggestions there, I would like to ask for agreement on approving the minutes of 125. And if anybody has an objection to that, let's just hear that. Okay, so hearing no objections, I'll consider them approved. So we started a discussion. Did you have something to say, Maureen, or because I'm not hearing you?
We need a motion to approve the minutes and someone to second them.
Ah, good point.
I move.
I'll second.
Very
Thank
good.
you.
So we have Rick and Sarah.
All right, we're all set.
Okay, thank you. Okay, we have a guest tonight also, John Bradley. Welcome, John. We had started a discussion last month about future directions for the EMC. And I've been thinking about that, about, what do we want to get done in 2021? How do we want to help the county adjust to what's, excuse me a second. Oh boy. I have my computer set up to answer the phone if if I'm sitting at it. So there we go. And I get calls all the time for people who want to sell me a car warranty or some such thing. But the future thoughts. I would like to open the floor to anybody who had some other thoughts about this, about the role of the EMC in the county right now. If anybody would like to speak for a minute or two. Ed, you're muted. Remember to click the little phone or microphone symbol on the middle bottom of your screen when you're talking. Okay. Anybody else?
I just have a question.
Please.
Are there any, do EMCs anywhere in the state hire, I think the answer is yes, raise funds to hire staff? I mean, not a large staff, but I know that we don't get really any funding other than the support from personnel from the county to do that. But I'm just curious because, in the climate smart context, we're thinking about that, and how we can provide support. We're all volunteers. We can only do so much. I'm sure everyone here can talk extensively about all the things we'd like to do, but the question is what we realistically can do. And I was just curious if anyone knows of any other, I don't know, models of EMC work that has been more effective because they have more resources.
Well, my experience of going to a meeting of the EMC's statewide organization and of going to the some of the other counties EMCs is that I don't recall if they actually have any hired staff, but the relationships they have with other organizations, I think, has played into the answer to that question of how do you get things done, of how do you get the word out, get people organized, organize events and things like that, David. So, but the question of whether they have staff hired is something that we can ask of the state association. I'll bet the head of that group would know about that. I'll send him an email and ask.
Well, that'd be great. And I guess the NRI maybe is an example of how the EMC was involved and still is involved in the trainings, but the work happened with contractors and with the support of partnering organizations. So that's probably a good example. I was before my time in how the EMC operated, but maybe we could do a little brainstorming at some point about potential partners and potential partnerships that might be worth pursuing. And that might be our time, but just a thought.
Great.
So, Michael, my recollection is that there was a time when there was a very large number of EMCs that were part of the whole group for New York State. They used to have yearly meetings and so forth. That seemed to die off. And if there are new EMCs, I'd love to know where they are, and who's heading them up. Just as a beginning. But I'm not saying, David, I'm not saying that yours is not a good idea, but you may want to know who we're talking to.
Right. Well, there are still quite a few EMCs. I'll send you a list of all the rest of the state ones. And they do have, well, up until the COVID thing, they had been having meetings that I've attended, 3 of them. The last one was in Kingston. So,
well, that's good.
Yeah. So there are such things, and I think we can reach out a bit more. The head of the organization now is a guy named Simon Skolnick. So
he sends emails around regularly too.
Yes. I sent him. He has a list of all the members of the organization, and he's I think been sending emails out to all of the people he has an email address for. So,
Michael,
great.
I have.
Go ahead.
There are any number of regional and statewide environmental organizations that have their own agendas that are already set, action item agendas. And I think maybe we should consider surveying those organizations like Scenic Hudson, the Open Space Institute, the New York League of Conservation Voters, maybe, the Nature Conservancy, and I'm sure there are others, Riverkeeper, and see what their agendas have that pertain to Columbia County or overlap with Columbia County. And maybe there's some good synergies to be had there.
I think that's a great idea, Rick.
Mm-hmm.
Great idea.
Good idea.
Did our interference go away?
Yeah, that is a great idea. And often those organizations that are regional or statewide actually see great value in having local connections to be able to kind of articulate the problem, focus on solutions. It's often that they're working on more of an abstract or policy level to try to implement things. And if they have local partners, it can be really useful for them. So if we find the right issue.
Right. Exactly. Okay, so Rick, would you like to pick up on that and see what you
Sure.
can find?
Yeah, I'm happy to do that. If people want to send to me suggestions of organizations to reach out to beyond the ones I just listed, I'd be happy to do that.
Alrighty.
The other aspect of that is, and David mentioned it, that there's a lot of policy work going on at the state level. And Columbia County should be weighing in when we can get the Board of Supervisors to agree to weigh in. And I really think that that would be an important role for us to play on any statewide legislation or budget issues that could have positive impacts, or I suppose negative impacts on Columbia County.
Mm-hmm. Exactly.
How would, very frankly, how would we better communicate with DEC? Are we even concerned about communicating with DEC? I really think there's a real failure there between DEC and the communities and the real issues, but that's not my opinion.
Okay.
Well, it might be good to have a point of contact within the DEC where we can get pertinent information to things that are going on in Columbia County. Certainly, that's a great idea.
Yeah, and so probably the venue, the best venue for that is going to be the Greenway and or the estuary program for our region.
Okay,
Yeah,
good.
Good too.
I had a thought too, Michael, about I don't know if anybody wants more social media in their life, but there are 3 counties that have a Facebook page: Broome County, Chemung, and Otsego County's Environmental Management Council all maintain a Facebook page to put information out. And I'm thinking of things like, you know, the email that Christian sent, I think it was this afternoon, on something that's going on with the food supply. And you could also put the link to, you know, how is the best way to find out what's going on in your county on DEC. And there's a link there on their website where you can get, you know, regular updates of things coming up that you might be of interest, you know, to go to a meeting if it's being held via email. So we can share information to the county that way, and people get accustomed to looking for us. And you know, that might not be a bad idea. Another thought occurred to me. I was in the Walmart the other night in Catskill, and I got approached by a salesperson. I guess it was sales for Green Mountain Energy. And, you know, he was looking to sign people up to buy power off of the renewable grid. And my first thought was, great. And he was saying, you know, 6.5 cents a kilowatt hour. But I hesitated because I didn't know exactly. And then I looked it up today. I went to their site and found out it's a variable rate. That's the type of thing a lot of people, members of the public, you know, our regular Joes aren't going to know. And they're
Right.
thinking they're doing a good thing. And then, you know, you find out, like I was on NPR this morning on the way to work and found out that Texas, people who had done that and have a variable rate are now getting $1,000+ electric bills. So, you know, that kind of thing, I think we could help navigate, you know, for the public too. So
Well,
I
part-
social
I
media.
don't think we're quite in the same boat as our brothers in Texas,
No.
but the use of that term to say 6 cents a kilowatt hour is deceptive, because it applies only to the part of the electric charge that is related to the generating of the electricity. You still have the delivery part of it. So 6 cents and 6 cents winds up being about 12 cents. And that's roughly what we in National Grid territory pay for a kilowatt hour.
Yeah.
So to say it sounds 6, oh my goodness, that's half the rate I now pay, might occur to somebody listening to it for the first time, but it's only half of, it is only half, but you have to pay the other half. It has to
Yeah.
get to you. Bruce?
Things like
One-
that
I-
that people wouldn't understand. Maybe we can be useful to get that information out there.
Okay.
The social
interesting.
media thing is climate smart action. So that might be something that that the climate smart task force might approach, and we could piggyback on that because it's Columbia County information. Might be.
Hey, Michael.
Sure.
People have their hands raised on the, I don't know if you know how to track that, but 2 or 3 people have raised their hands.
Oh, I'm sorry. I guess I'm inexperienced with this this tool. Where do you see the hands raised or not?
On the bottom right of each person's tile. So Kara, and is Christian the Rip Van Winkle?
Yeah.
amateur
Yeah.
Huh.
name?
But I don't even see a tile for Christian. I mean,
So go to
And
participants.
we call Amateur Radio Society.
Yeah,
Yeah,
if you
there
go to
was.
all the participants, Michael, you'll see some of them have their hands up and some of them just have 3 dots.
very good. Okay. I'm more accustomed to Zoom. So, Christian, you had something to say.
Where is he?
He's muted.
I don't see him, Michael.
I
Well,
think Christian is the
he's
phone
not
number.
visible one way or the other. He's just calling in. But
Yeah, he used the phone number.
There he is.
Yeah. Well,
Yep.
there's again, it's strange ways that this particular thing works. I had raised my hand some time ago, and my question was answered, and I put it down, and then it magically appeared up again. So it's back down, and I'm good to go and enjoying the conversation. Thanks.
okay, very good. Okay, Kara, your hand is still raised. Did you have something else to say?
Yeah, mine was raised a while ago as well. I was going to just sort of weigh in on what David mentioned about EMC's hiring a staff. And I spent the past month looking through a lot of EMC minutes with EMCs across New York. And
Oh, good.
a lot of activity over the past year. And I've in communication with Tompkins EMC to talk about what they might have done in regards to solid waste. But, you know, what I keep finding is a lot of members of EMCs are working in other capacities. A lot of folks are maybe retired from their career, but are working in multitudes of different organizations, a lot of local community stuff. And in particular with EMC, you know, they're working on climate smart communities. I've just seen this over and over again. But to your point, Michael, you know, the counties that have gotten a lot of traction in certain areas with EMCs have been able to partner with whether it's an engineering firm or some sort of for-profit, like for instance, what has transpired in Ulster County with Ulster County Resource Management. And then they hire an engineering firm or what have you. And then they're partnered with EMC to kind of move this agenda forward. So over and over again, I keep seeing that there's the private sector kind of meeting the EMCs to drive action forward. Definitely seen that. So that's all I wanted to say. Thank you.
Well, thank you very much. So what else do we got here?
I'll just
David.
add one more thought, if I may. If you know, we all know that the climate program has within it many of the issues that we're all talking about regularly and concerned
No,
with.
I can't get it.
From solid waste which is obviously on top of our mind. We've talked a lot about it. Obviously, the energy issues related to climate change, and solar energy permitting, a lot of things that are controversial in our community that we could play a role. So I'm hoping that as we get more traction, both in our towns and at the county level, and more resources for that program, we can use that as an organization, and that effort can use us as an organization. Hopefully that brings a little bit more to the table as we get going.
I have a thought, a suggestion, and I know that I'm one of the, probably not alone here. I'm feeling like these meetings just sneak up, and I wish I were doing more. But I was thinking, I mean, maybe it would be helpful and for the committee to, if we sort of picked as a council, you know, the basic areas, which I think that Dave, some of the areas you mentioned, you know, maybe it's solid waste is one area, you know, what are the topic areas, work streams, workflows, you know, call those, maybe it's solid waste, maybe it's climate resilience, because we have, I mean, we're on the Hudson River, we have, you know, we're going to have to deal with climate change. We have to think about it. Energy, whatever those things are. And then if we created subcommittees that meet between our meetings, then maybe that would be a way to get, maybe I'm just creating more bureaucracy, but it might be a way to get, you know, to sort of advance these issues between our meetings in a more focused way. And then if we assigned a group of people to figure out, okay, around solid waste, what are we doing? If we want to do one thing this year around energy resiliency, what's the most important thing we can be focusing on?
Right. Oh, neat.
Absolutely. And you know, we have, the EMC has broken out into subgroups in the past. One thing, I was surprised that Christian didn't mention it, but to the point that Tara brought up about being a clearinghouse for information, and you know, much like other organizations have come to us, like Citizens Climate Lobby or Zero Waste Columbia, you know, collaboration is really important. But you know, there's Christian and I started to work on a recycling resource directory. It was about not only recycling, but solid waste and reusing and repurposing and, you know, fixing and so on. So it's an excellent idea. And I think we should continue down that path for sure.
He's talking and we can't
Very
hear.
good. Thank you. So, well,
What you think?
climate smart communities. David, would you like to say a word or two about where we're at with the countywide climate smart communities?
Yes, and I'll be brief. We're continuing to make progress. There's folks remember there's a working group of supervisors and EMC members who have been kind of getting the nuts and bolts together since we passed the resolution. And the next step is a task force for the county that will be more of a permanent body to carry forward the work and to look at the actions that we might take on as a county and how we might start making progress on those actions. So we've put together a list of task force members, talked to people, and put forward that list to the government committee. Last Thursday, they adopted that proposed task force, and I can read it to you in a minute. And that will go on March 10th to the Board of Supervisors. We expect that it will pass at that point. So then we'll have a task force, which is really a key. We'll run into a lot of the same problems that we're just talking about, which is we're all volunteers, right? However, the difference is there's a prescribed set of actions that will help direct our focus There are funding mechanisms that will help attract our focus. And there are already things that we're interested in doing. For example, more EV charging stations throughout the county, especially in Hudson. So, and there are funding mechanisms for that. That's where we're at. We still aspire. I aspire to hire someone to be a paid coordinator, so we can carry the work forward day after day in between our meetings and have the task force serve more as an advisory body. But we haven't really figured out how we're going to function because we don't exist yet, this task force. That will be the next step, is to look at the program and figure out how we want to move forward. But just, I can read the list and I can send this around. Brenda Adams, who's the supervisor from Canaan. John Bradley, who's on the call. He's the CSC Task Force Coordinator in Claverick. Donal Collins, supervisor in Chatham. He's also on the Farmland Protection Bureau. Terrence Duval from the Columbia Land Conservancy. Susan Flam, or Flame, I think it's Flam. She's the CSC coordinator in Ankrum. Dan Haas, the CSC coordinator in Copake. Tistria Hofling, who's the supervisor in New Lebanon. Kara Humphrey, who we all know. Claudia Kenny, who's a farmer from Little Seed Farm in Chatham. Ron Knott, supervisor from Stuyvesant. Bill Mancini, who's the CSC coordinator in the village of Kinderhook. Myself, Michael O'Hara, Patrice Perry, who's the planning director, if anyone isn't familiar. Steve Powers for the county. Steve Powers is the CSC Task Force chairman in New Lebanon. Jolene Race is the solid waste, for the county, the solid waste director. Jody Rael, who's Sundog Solar, a business, renewable energy business owner in Chatham. Bruce Shanker, who everyone knows, and he's also the CSC Task Force coordinator in New Lebanon. So that's the list, and it's not set in stone, and we will work and we will invite everyone here and anyone else to participate in any way they want, and we'll go from there. So that's kind of where we're at. It's all preliminary process, but we're making some progress toward getting to the substantive issues that we're all concerned with.
Hey, Dave, did Joshua Cohen from Environmental Advocates reach out to you? Probably after that got passed, but he is looking for a way to engage in Columbia County. So I'd mentioned it. I told him to talk to you.
I was on a call that they organized last week. But not on this particular. He did mention in his introduction he's in Columbia County. So thanks. I'll follow up with you or him and figure out. Yeah, that's great. And there are a bunch of people. So thank you, Sarah. That reminds me. Lifeboats, which is this organization funded through the New World Foundation, a grant, made these individual grants to certain towns, 2 or 3 of them in our community, to pay for coordinators to work for 6 months and go through a training and the program, the Climate Smart program. And they're in the process of their outreach. They were able to identify a lot of people in the county who have skills and interest and weren't able to get those grants. So there's a list of people that's much larger than that task force that I think are ready to be engaged. And then there are all the activists in our towns that have done so much work already in the Climate Smart program and the Clean Energy program. And those folks are really going to be, I think, the backbone of our efforts throughout the county. So a lot of what I hope we can do early on is organize, help bring people together, collaborate, help facilitate collaboration among the folks that are already working hard at these things, and then try to elevate what they're doing to a higher level. But I'll reach out to Josh. Thanks very much for that.
Okay.
Okay, so thank you, David. Do we have any thing from Zero Waste Columbia County, Kara, perhaps?
I don't know, Christian, do you have anything to add? I don't think that we have much to report at this. Oh, John, do you have anything? Do you think that we have much to report? I think we're kind of like in a holding pattern.
Mhm.
John?
I just might add that there's been a really interesting discussion among a number of the zero waste folks about organics and food waste and composting, and identifying in a number of communities where there's food scraps and all that don't have any place to go, and then where there's people like farms who might take some. And so as we collect, it's a very interesting discussion. This doesn't really have a plan yet. But hopefully we're trying to hook up the connections. That's all.
Yeah, there's, I think we're forming a subcommittee. There's some chatter in the background about, homeowners having composting at their homes. And then for those that don't have yards or a place to compost, if there could be a drop off at a transfer station or a local farm. So there's some research being done in the background.
To add a little more than research, there's been actual contact with farmers who are interested in receiving food scraps from people. So beginning to look at the specifics of where drop-offs might occur, and in the working group that was formed, there will be an approach to the county about exploring the possibilities of drop-offs at the disposal stations. So there's actual work being done. Also, John Bradley is working at another recycling project with oyster shells that are valuable to farmers. A small project, but it's a real deed. So there's the subgroup and actual contact with actual farmers looking to receive material. So that's progress.
Yep.
Great, thank you. All right, how about from the health department? How are we doing?
Well, we're hanging in there. we were in a bit of a holding pattern with the vaccine last week. You probably had heard on the news, though, the storms down south delayed our receiving vaccine, so we had to cancel our second dose clinics. So that was about 400 people. So they're rescheduled for this Wednesday. Apparently our vaccine's coming out of Kentucky, so I guess that was an issue getting it. But we received 900 doses this morning. I heard nurses cheering in the hallway. So I guess we have more. So we'll be back on this week. So check your link tomorrow. I think that we're probably going to have to allocate a lot of them to people with the comorbidities on the list that the state put out. But where our cases are starting to kind of go down a little bit. The last 2 days, we've had 16 new COVID cases in the county. And sadly, one more person passed away. So we're at 86 deaths. But that's, it's statewide, it's the lowest it's been since Thanksgiving. So we're hoping we're coming down off of the tail end of the second wave here. There is some COVID variant in the state. They found a South African variant case down on Long Island. It's not necessarily more virulent. It's just, it's very, very contagious. So, but both of the manufacturers, Pfizer and Moderna, are saying that the UK variant, their vaccines will take care of. The South African variant, they're about 50% effective. So, so we'll just have to wait and see how that goes. But as far as that goes, there's not too much else happening, other than frontline dealing with this as usual, and trying to navigate how we're getting back to normal, or as things are getting back to normal, how that works. I have people calling me who are operating wedding venues wanting to know, are you coming to check? Are you giving me permits for my wedding? I'm like, we don't have any guidance. So, just oddball things like that we keep getting thrown our way. So, but that's about it.
Thanks,
Well,
Sarah.
Good of them to ask.
Yeah.
Okay. I forget how the land use in Columbia County wound up there. I think we had discussed it briefly in the last meeting, but what I would like to bring up is the topic of the Good Earthkeeping Awards. This is a project that
Terry.
we've been doing for many years now. And Terry, who has, kind of retired from the EMC at this point as the representative from the Cornell Cooperative Extension, had been the leader in that regard for quite a while. And we have some things that need to be done with that, including taking the materials that they have already created and making announcements through various venues to say, we would like nominations for it, and to get the ball rolling on scheduling it going forward. And I wonder if there's anybody among us that would like to take that on as a kind of a subcommittee and run with that project. It's not something I can do right now, but it's a few discrete actions that will take a couple of hours of somebody's time to push forward, and then to go over the any nominations and think about which ones deserve the award. So I'm open to volunteers for this thing.
I would volunteer to work with a group, a subcommittee.
Great. Okay. Anybody else here?
Kara, I'll help you.
Kara and Rick. Okay.
We need a couple more here, folks.
Sarah?
I'll help.
I was going to twist your arm anyway. So, Tara, you want to be part? Anybody else? It's really about outreach, right? It's about
Yes.
it's about getting people to nominate
Right.
Good Earthkeeping. So
Right.
we have some channels available to us, and it could be a good exercise towards maybe creating a Facebook page for the EMC or
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Well, I think that's a good
Discussing-
core
are we-
group there.
Sorry, are we going to discuss, when do we discuss the nominees? Or if we have ideas, how do we put those folks forward?
Well, that's up for Kara and Rick and Sarah to figure it out, and they'll tell us. I'll send you the materials I got from Terry, which laid out a timeline for how these things have gone in the past, and you can adapt that as needed. Alrighty.
In the past, it was that nominations were requested in April, and
Right.
then in June, July, I think of last year, we presented the awards.
Yes. Yeah, that was roughly the timeline. So,
Right.
Michael,
sir,
can we go back to land use planning for a second?
Yeah.
please go right
I
ahead.
second that.
Couple of points. One is a lot of the towns in the county have open space plans and conservation boards.
Yes, of course.
And I'm wondering if the EMC shouldn't spearhead a county-wide open space plan to build off of that.
Mm-hmm.
And then and I think that might be important for, particularly in the case of towns that don't have an active Conservation Advisory Committee or Conservation Board, or haven't done an open space plan yet. And maybe because of politics aren't likely to do so anytime soon. And then the second thing I want to point out to the committee members on land use is that there is a comprehensive restoration plan for the Hudson River that has a lot of action items listed in Columbia County. And I put the link in the chat here on this call. So if you go to the chat, you'll see the link that I put in there for the Hudson River Comprehensive Restoration Plan. And there's, it's 80 pages, but a lot of it applies to Columbia County. And there's a map that shows you potential restoration sites in Columbia County and the like. And
Hey, Rick, it's not showing up, your link.
well, let me see. In-call messages.
I actually was able to access it. It worked fine for me.
Oh, really?
I can fine. Click on chat.
Yep.
In-call messages is where you'll find it. But so if you want to just go directly, it's the HudsonWeShare.org.
Okay.
And I'm particularly proud of that piece because I was the executive director of the Nature Conservancy when we launched that program. And that document and all the work that went into it is the end result.
Oh, wonderful. Great. Thank you. Yeah, we had talked a bit
Michael,
last month about this and the difference between an NRI, which we already did, and an open space plan, which is kind of, in my understanding, the next step in most cases of what you do after you have an inventory. You assign priorities. You figure out, where you might actually put land use rules of one sort or another to encourage development or to discourage it, to protect certain areas, etc.
I just shot you, Michael.
Pardon me?
I just shot you.
Oh, did you?
Encourage development, so I just shot you.
Well, thank you. But if development is going to happen, we need to focus on where we might like it to happen and discourage it where we don't want it to happen.
Right. But there's something I'm not so sure you discussed it last month. Many communities, like the town of Kinderhook, we've had land conservation language in our code for a long time. And there's large portions of land that have been preserved in perpetuity right in the town of Kinderhook. So and to be able to pick them out and find them may be a little bit arduous.
Right.
But nonetheless, it's happening. And I can point to some of them because I was on the planning board when it happened.
Good. Okay. All right. And yeah. Okay. Anything else about the issues of open space planning or things like it? Very good. The Columbia Land Conservancy, speaking of conserved lands, Christine is starting to get rolling on organizing a virtual training class for NRI users. And she has several of the members of this committee that have volunteered to help her out with that. So that will be coming along. And I don't know that they've come up with any particular more specifics on it. If any of you know what those are, I'd be happy to hear.
No, Michael, I'm one of the people that volunteered to help Christine. And she sent me an email at the end of last week saying that she's going to start gearing up in about a week, 10 days.
Great. Okay. very good. Thank you. So, all right, that was that. So those should be coming along. If anybody you know would like to get better trained on using the NRI, it's certainly an amazing tool for a lot of different things. And I would encourage anybody that hasn't taken the course yourself, it would be worth some time and effort to do so.
Michael, can I add to that?
Please.
I think it's really important that members ask their town board members, their planning board, and their ZBA boards to attend these trainings as well.
Yes.
You know, and be really proactive about putting that message out there.
Exactly. Yeah. If they just think it's a book that you might refer to if you need to, it won't be thought of in the right way by these people. There's just so much you can do with the tool that they need to get their hands on and use it to figure that out.
Yep.
Just looking through it today.
Good, good. So that's as much as I had on my agenda. Is there anything else that anything else that people would like to bring up?
Guess not.
I guess not. Well, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn then.
So moved.
Okay. Anybody else seconding that?
Second.
Oh, okay. Very good. So,
Second. Yeah. Okay.
and with no objections, I think we can call it a night. Thank you all for attending and we'll see you next month. And in the meantime, I'm going to write up some thoughts, and I'm feeling a little embarrassed that I didn't do it already, about the land use planning issue in Columbia County. It's something that I think that we should get on top of, and we need to think it through in a longer term than we can in a short meeting of the EMC once a month.
Michael, I just want to reiterate that if members have any thoughts on organizations like the Nature Conservancy or somebody like that, who I should reach out to, please shoot me an email and I'll do that.
Great. Thank you, Rick.
And one last thing, I'm going to give a plug for the Austerlitz Climate Smart Committee. They have a Facebook page. We'd love you to like our Facebook page.
Okay.
Thank you.
Austerlitz.
Nice work, Austerlitz.
If I may,
Just wait till you see what we get done.
Well, if we're bragging about our climate smart, we applied for bronze, and we'll find out this week whether we made it.
Oh, good. Yay.
You go, New Lebanon.
Yeah.
It might be a record in the terms of speed.
of the communities that have worked on land use, Germantown, if you remember, did a great deal of work on that subject.
They did.
Yeah, and that's when she was a member of the EMC and also was an employee of my gosh.
Land Conservancy.
Yes, the Land Conservancy.
Yeah, and they've been struggling with Amtrak, huh?
Yep.
Yep.
Okay. Well, good night, everybody. Thanks for coming.
Good night. Take care,
Night,
everyone.
Good night, everyone.
Safe.